So I'm here in Thailand with Raghu and Hiroman. Hiroman's actually from the state of Washington here visiting, and Raghu lives here in Thailand. Hiroman built the ashram in Hawaii. So I'm going to get a couple of stories. Who would like to tell a story about Babaji first?
Raghu is always such a good storyteller. We'll let him go first.
Okay, Raghu.
Well, it's almost Shivaratri, so I'd like to tell a story. In 1982, I was only a few months with Babaji, and we traveled to Bombay and to Vapi to do the Shivaratri there, which was always the habit of doing that. And I was still fairly new, and but when I was in Haidakhandi around Babaji, we were always very close. But when moving around, all these loyal old devotees from Babaji, Indians, would come around, and they would move in somehow, and we would take a bit of a step back. But always being very present. And when we went to Vapi, then the evening before, Baba said, tomorrow morning early you have to be there. And there was going to be a ritual which I had never heard the word Abhishek yet, so I thought, okay, we'll see. And I was there early. When I arrived early, there were already many Indian devotees. They were already milling around in the garden, standing, doing some japa or some were just chatting and looking if they could get a cup of tea somewhere. And I looked around and I understood that Baba was already in the bathroom with Shastraji. So I just went there and I sat in front of the bathroom, and one or two people went in, and all of a sudden they were shouting, Raghuveer, Raghuveer. So nobody knew me very much. At least I had that feeling also, but I knew that there was a man from Bombay and some other man who was called Raghuveer, and I knew who they were, so I started to run around everywhere to see where is this Raghuveer, but I couldn't find any of them. So I came back to the bathroom and I shouted through the door, no, there is no Raghuveer here. No, you, come in. So I came in, and there was bad lighting in this bathroom, and there was Mansingh, who handed me a lota, and when I felt it, it was warm with milk, and I thought, that's nice. Mansingh was looking at me, and Shastraji was standing there, and somebody else I don't really remember, and but they were looking intensely at me, and I thought it was so strange that they called me in there with this milk, and all of a sudden I'm looking down and I see that in the corner Babaji is sitting in squat, wrapped in a lungi on the floor, and he looks at me a little bit from, quickly! And then I understood so I was pouring this milk over him and in his hair and everywhere. It felt very strange, but all of a sudden it became somehow normal, and I felt like I was busy doing something really sacred. And I got into it, and before you know, you're outside again. But it was really a charged moment of doing that. And it's so funny how we are being pulled into these rituals, which are very sacred, but we don't even know what we're doing. We don't know why we're doing it, but we're just doing it.
And did other people also get to do this?
Sorry? Yeah, no, everybody went, but it was so strange for me that they called me in the very beginning, because there were 200 people standing there, I don't know, many people, so I couldn't imagine that they called me.
And Babaji sat there the whole time?
Yeah, he sat there. That was quite amazing. He sat there for all these devotees who come by, and everybody got a chance. I don't know, 50 liters of milk in small lotuses being. Baba sits there for all this time, out of love for his devotees. He did so much. I mean, his whole presence was pure love for his devotees.
Does that bring something to your mind here, man?
Yeah, love for his devotees.
That's a good
That's
theme,
a
huh?
good could talk for hours about that.
Exactly.
I think before you talk about anything, though, about stories, you have to remember that whoever's listening to this, that you'll develop your own stories with Baba, and just because we might have had some personal experiences in the body with him doesn't make that any more important than the stories that you make with him. And I know for me, I have a lifetime of stories with Babaji, and not all of the ones that are most special to me are being with him physically. I mean, I've had as many experiences before I met him physically, or when I was away from him, or after he's left his body, and they're all really the same, So each of us can have our own stories all the time, and it goes right back to the love, the love that goes both ways.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the most important stories, and always will be. And then as far as stories, I don't know, just give me a subject.
Love for his devotees.
Love for his devotees. Well, I certainly experienced that with Baba. I think it happened, love for his devotees, and also the delight and humor that love was expressed with was just something that you can think of the rest of your life, and it lights you up. You just can't help but smile when you think about Baba. And which doesn't mean that he was always just expressing love in the way that we think love is expressed, because sometimes love might have been the stick instead of the carrot too. And I mean, I remember a time that Raghu told me he saw once when we first met each other in Hirokan. I didn't even really know Raghu that well then, but we'd been working on the side of a cliff, bringing where the gufas are built now, and bringing the dirt down, slowly, and I, of course, was ready just to charge into it full bore and work like a maniac, and the other people that were working there weren't quite so enthusiastic about that approach, and so they went and complained to Babaji, and so Baba comes over and just totally berates me and shouts at me about no, you can't do it this way, and I didn't, and I knew that was just as much love as when he was praising me, and so it didn't, and I just said, okay, we'll do it this other way, and then he just immediately grabbed me and we walked off, and he was laughing within minutes, and we had just planted a lot of things there on that side, flowers, and I was walking by and I saw a little flower that had somehow didn't get planted right, and I just reached over to put it in and firm the dirt around it, and I looked, and I was kneeling, and I looked up in his eyes, and he was smiling at me, but in his eyes I saw this whole kind of a movie, like literally saw this movie of this flood just coming and washing everything away that we worked for a month and a half on, just immediately. And then I realized that didn't really matter. What mattered was that we do reach over and replant that flower. And the very next day, the monsoons rolled in and toast, a lot of the work we'd done was just washed away. And I'm not sure if that was the same time that happened with that story, but I know it was the same feeling. It was a feeling of that karma yoga is about just always picking yourself up each moment and going back to work, and that's what's important in our lives, is that we just live in the moment and do our work and share the light that's given to us with other people.
Yeah, I remember when you were digging in that mountain. I came with Babaji there. You were digging in the mountain, and there were these two Indian devotees. I still remember who they are. And they had a shovel, and one had a rope on the shovel. And with two of them, they were
putting in
like
a wheelbarrow.
And you were with somebody else, really like bulldozers digging into the mountain, and they were telling you off. Yeah, I remember. I thought it was so unfair on that moment.
But the interesting thing, the rest of that story too, I think I told you this, but years later, Bob and I were bathing, and then we just stopped, and we walked down farther than where we normally bathed, and he just looked at the hill, and that was the hill that we had been working on, and that was all now, made into, terraced out and everything. It was probably the next year maybe or something, and he just was looking at it, and then the whole hillside just went and just crashed down like this huge avalanche of dirt, and nobody got hurt. And it was like all the tents that were put up there temporarily were wiped out, and it was like, I thought, it's like Babaji's teachings come in so many ways, like layers of the onion, and how, one teaching was not to be attached when he was firm with you, or not to worry about what other people thought about when he was firm with you. And then the other one was like the humor of it all, like Raghu was saying. And then the other one was like, hey, a year later, maybe he stopped me from digging that way because that might have happened earlier. You never know. Like some of Babaji's teachings, they just steep in you for years, and then you'll have a moment and you'll see another layer of it. And that's how my experience with Babaji's been all my life. Since I was a child, he appeared to me, and it was always about, there's always more to learn and more to give. So that's my relationship with Baba.
Mm.